beautiful before and after, right? Well, I used a little bit of brow tinting as well as a little bit of makeup. And so I'm going to show you how I would do that at home. So you definitely want to stick around with this video because I'm going to show you how to tint your own eyebrows. So stick with me. Yeah, you need to check this out. Now I'm going to show you a few things that I'm going to use real quickly before I start with the model. I like to mix color in a tiny little glass container like this. Now you don't need something like this. You can get anything that you have at home. That's obviously, I would suggest glass so that way it doesn't stain. And I suggest something a little tiny, not this tiny if you don't have one, but just something that's really small so that way you can just squeeze some of the tint in here. Now I will be using the Reflectasil tint. You can get this at most beauty supplies, I think, but you can definitely get it online, which is great. I will be tagging these products so you can quickly purchase that as well. And so it will be written in the descriptions, but it will be tagged. I always have a black and a dark brown with me, but you can also use the light brown as well. And keep in mind, all three of these colors, or the two of the colors, you can mix. You could also use this on your eyelashes. That's not what this video is going to be about, but you can throw this on your eyelashes and darken them up a tiny bit. So that's something that I suggest my clients to do. Make sure you have a ton of these spoolie brushes because you're going to need this as well. You don't have to use this, but I find that this is much easier. And so, yeah, spoolie brush, your tints. I do suggest to have a little a tint remover in case you get it around the skin. And of course, the developer or the peroxide or developer. No, developer. You need a developer with that to mix the color. So you will get a full detail and an example as to how I do it on the client and on myself. But you know what? This is just something that I don't tell everybody they need to do, but it certainly does help if you have very fair brow hair. You know you have a lot of brows there, but it's so light. If you have some grays coming through, that's also a good tip as well. But I'll go a little bit more into that in the video. A little bit, you don't need much, like literally gosh, the size of a pea. I would say maybe a pea is a good one. Yeah, size of a pea. And then I'm going to put a tiny bit of the dark brown. Now, you don't have to mix it, of course. If you have light blonde hair, you can mix the light tube with the dark brown tube. So I'm just using a tiny bit on each side, meaning on each from each tube. I can't really speak right now. Forgive me. But I always seem to have that problem. I don't know why. Anyway, so here's your, I don't know if you can see this mixture, but it's, as you can see, it's very, very little, not much at all. I like to save as much as, I don't like to use too much because you're going to throw a lot of it out. So trust me when I tell you, you don't need much. Okay, so then once you get what you feel like you can get, or you feel like you need, then you get the developer. Now there's many different strength of developer. You don't have to get the Reflectasil developer. You can get any brand. If you go to a beauty supply, they may even suggest you go with something stronger than a 3%. So the higher the strength of a developer is, the faster the color will develop or process, if you will. This one is a pretty low one, it's 3%. So you can apply it, and maybe you want to start with something low like this. And all you do is put the same amount, meaning like if you did it's the same amount, equal parts, if that makes sense. So if you have an equal of the pea size of the color, you do a pea size of the developer. So it's not much to it other than make sure that it doesn't have to be exact, but as long as it's kind of even amount, that's all you need to do. That's pretty much straightforward. And then I like to use the back of the spoolie brush. You can use, you know, you can use a brush if you like. If you have like a brow brush you want to use, you can use that as well to mix, or a toothpick. But I just like to use the back of the spoolie brush, and I just blend it, really. I go back and forth, which is why I like this little glass container, because it's small and tiny, and I can just press on it and go back and forth and just make sure that you get it nicely mixed up. Okay, so, and you don't really need me to I guess you can, yeah, it doesn't hurt to see this whole process, right? That's what YouTube is all about, right? So you can see every little detail as to the steps, right? Because as opposed to like shorts or Instagram reels, it's much quicker. But which I'm on, by the way, if in case you don't know. Okay, so it's nicely mixed up, and make sure you always have like a tissue or paper towel or something on hand because you want to, you want to make sure that you keep all that clean, right? Okay, so now this is the part where I tell even my clients that do their own tinting, you can use the back of the spoolie and just apply generously over your eyebrows, or you can use the bristle part, the brush part, and apply it. Now, if you have full eyebrows, but they're just really light, I would suggest using the one with the brush on the side, so that way it really gets into the hair. But I'm going to do both sides on my eyebrows. I'm going to look a little crazy, but that's okay. All for the sake of teaching you guys, right? So I'm grabbing with the back of the spoolie, the stick, and I'm going to do this on this side, just a very generous amount. You see that? Okay, so as you can see, I'm just going to mainly attack this side first. So I'm just applying with the back end of that spoolie very generously. Don't worry about getting it too, like, oh, it's now messy. I don't that's why you want a Q-tip on hand, because the Q-tip is really gonna clean it up, and you'll see that in just a second. So that is where I'm mainly gonna that's where I first put on the tint, because you want it to start processing right there. Okay, so in the front, it's already dark, right? But we are going to put a little bit of color on there as well. See, I already went ahead and stepped up on me because it can get really messy, as you can see right here. Very messy. And it's also nice and dark. She likes her brows very, very dark, especially because at that area, there's not much there, really. So, and then that's when I grab the Q-tip and I just start smoothing it out. Now, you're probably thinking, well, how do you know where to, just play with it. Don't worry about getting it so perfectly. And the concentration of the tint is right there, right? And you know what I often found, and I tell this to my clients, is get the Q-tip and just smooth it around the eyebrows. The bone structure will also kind of like, I don't know, like kind of give you an idea as to where the brows should be. But again, this is just tint. So, and you got the tint remover if in case it gets a little too messy and too crazy looking. Okay, so now I'm getting it right on the, I'm gonna get rid of some of this guy right here. So on the other side, I'm using the brush. So now you get to see both sides of the tint here. So this side doesn't need as much as far as in that arch area, but I'm just being very generous with the tint. See, very, very generous. Get it in there. Now, I like, as you can see, it's going inside the hairs. It's looking very messy, but again, that's okay, right? So using the spoolie brush, it really gets inside the eyebrows. So that's another reason why I like to use this. But like I said, you can use a brow brush, whatever you find around that you feel like it best works for you. So this is a time to clean it up. This is also the time to kind of shape your eyebrows a little bit, meaning, okay, well, I want my brows to be a little bit fuller, so I'm going to go a little bit fuller, lower. I want my brows to be a little longer, so maybe you want to do that here, right? So that's where it can get, this is where you can really do the shaping. So as you can see, now I'm going to just grab a little bit of my my paper towel here, but you can use paper towel, you can use tissue paper, but this is set, I think this is set for about, I don't know, about 2-3 minutes, because I'm using a strong developer. But like I said, to start off, use a 3% developer and you should be okay. And then this is what you get. It can't get any darker than this, as you can see right here, but you see the color. And that's what I really want you to see. That's what she wants to see. It also makes it easier for her to fill them in. That's another reason why she loves having this done. So like, assuming my tint has set, I'm just gonna remove my tint And this is the time, once you remove your tint, this is the time where you see, okay, maybe I need to grab that Q-tip and get the stain remover and see if you get the stain remover. I sometimes just put it right on the Q-tip. You could put it on your hand and then, just, I'm making a mess here. And then you could just go around the eyebrows if you need to clean it up. Okay, so meaning like if there's a tint going all the way up there, obviously you want to use some of that stain remover to remove that excess tint. But eventually the tint does come off the skin. The tints don't stain the skin that long. You might have it stained for a couple of hours, but the skin, especially if you're oily, just kind of shoots out the... Okay, so look at this. Once the brows have been tinted, she has no makeup on except for that highlighter. The highlighter is such a great addition because it really cleans up any mess, but it really shows off the eyebrows. Look at my eyebrows. Just by doing this, it already looks polished. I'm using the Brow Wiz. On her, it's such a perfect tool to use because, again, it's just really mainly focusing in that area. Hers is ebony. I can get away with ebony. It's a pretty dark color, but again, she likes her brows to be very dark. And on white milky skin and jet black hair, that's actually a really good color. You could also use ash brown. Up in the front, notice that I'm laying the pencil sideways, so that way, if I do this, I tend to put too much pressure. It gets too dark. I just want a little bit of a background. So she doesn't need any color right here because that's where it's naturally just thicker. It's already darker a little bit from the tint, but that is mainly where I'm putting the color, just right up here, just an added extra color. Optional, but as you can see right here, it really does make a difference. And the other thing that makes a difference right here, check this out. See how much hair she has? It's really fair and light, but with the freeze, it not only sticks up the hair, and make sure you use this flat side because there's two sides to this applicator. The flat side really just kind of applies and pushes the hair up. The one with more of the longer bristle, that's where you go up in the front and comb it up because the front of the eyebrows, she's got more of that hair and it's a little longer. And beautiful before and after, right? I mean, I think it is. It's such a beautiful before and after because as you can see, and I want you to really focus on the eyebrow that doesn't have much hair. It looks like she had no hair. But once it was tinted and the freeze, again, like I was going to say earlier, it not only pushes the hair up, but it makes the hairs look thicker because it puts product on there. So it's just like hairspraying your hair, or when your hair is wet, it looks darker. But then you got product on it that makes it expand and make it thicker. So, I mean, it really does seem like, well, that's just magic right there, right? Where does she get all that hair? And part of that eyebrow area here just grows, it falls down. So the freeze is pushing the hair up. So that's why it just looks like she's got more hair than she started off with. So definitely try that out. So what do you think? Does my brows look a little darker now? I mean, they actually do. They do look a little darker. And I like to do this on myself every once in a while. Even though my brows are tattooed, it really does just kind of add extra dimension, which is, it's always a good thing, right? But I mean, I was really excited about showing you guys this. I might have a video back in the sometime last year maybe where I did show you how to tint your own eyebrows, but this is definitely getting a little bit more in detail. And although I'm not saying that everyone should do this, but I encourage you to try it out, especially if you can't get to a professional. And so this is just a great tool, a great way to fill in the eyebrows. Now, if you're not sure, when I was showing you earlier about the Q-tip and going around the eyebrows, and you're not sure, like, oh, I don't know if I'm removing in the right area. Like I said, just allow the Q-tip to follow the brow line, or you can lightly, this is not something I said earlier, but you can lightly fill in your eyebrows. Very, very lightly and see what you want to do or where you want to mainly have the color at. So that way you kind of have a plan. But, sometimes when you get your hair done, not sometimes, all the time, when you get your hair done, the hair color sometimes will put like a barrier around it, like that Vaseline kind. You can do that with the highlighter. I should have probably used this, but I didn't do it on the model as well. But this is something that if you apply the highlighter underneath the eyebrows and above, very important to do the above. If you apply that above and below the eyebrows, then you got like yourself a border, right? And then you apply the tint, most likely, or a good chance that you're not going to get the tint all around. And the best thing is that if you do you can even grab a very light stick, even a concealer, and you apply it around the eyebrows, you can really see with the light color how light, or the shape, not how light, the shape of your eyebrows. That's when you really can see the shape. You don't even have to remove this, and then you put the tint over that. So I hope that tip helps. And let me know if it does. Let me know if this is something that you have learned and want to try. Let me know if you've tried it and it has worked. But just have a little bit of patience, a little bit of practice, and I think this would really elevate your brows for sure. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, and I will see you guys right back here.